Every time somebody testifies to something in this courtroom, the first thing out your mouth is she's a lie. Now, I'm starting to believe you the lie. Now, you're gonna have to come up with some testimony in here that makes some sense.
This was some months later. When I got to my apartment, I unlocked the door with the key. But at that point, I heard my closet door slide open. And I heard somebody drug the bed and went in the closet. I said, oh no. When I got inside, I went right to the closet, opened the door. She standing up there naked. My man in my house.
This case is a roller coaster from the start. The judge introduces Hendricks versus Hendricks, and apparently, this isn't their first courtroom drama. Last time, Mrs. Hendricks accused her husband of cheating, but a lie detector cleared him. Now, Mr. Hendricks thinks she's the unfaithful one and doubts their newborn is his. Buckle up, because this is far from a normal paternity case.
Ms. Hendricks, you and your husband previously appeared in court because you suspected he was being unfaithful.
She was naked on the bed, and Chris was in there.
Oh, I'm perfectly aware of what's at stake.
There's the girls and then the baby, I mean.
You're expecting?
Yeah, I'm
Oh
6
my.
months.
Mr. Hendricks was asked, had he had sex with his ex? What was his response?
His response was no.
Mr. Hendricks is convinced the baby isn't his. He doesn't feel a connection, says little Christopher doesn't resemble him, and wants a lie detector test. Mrs. Hendricks, furious, named the baby after him and his dad, yet he still doubts her. And just when you think it can't get worse, the real reason for his suspicion is revealed.
You say you confirmed your wife has been unfaithful and there is no way her child is yours. So you're also petitioning the court for a lie detector test to determine the extent of your wife's cheating.
I mean, I was very honest with him with what happened before, and he has taken it to the extent of denying our son. Named him after him, circumcised him, did everything.
Enter Facebook drama. Mrs. Hendricks found flirty messages from her husband's coworker, but instead of confronting him, she had her own revenge spree. Then life took a turn. She was diagnosed with cancer, which made everything emotional. Her response? Full YOLO mode, drinking, partying, and making questionable decisions. And this is just the beginning.
Last September, his Facebook messages were coming to my phone, and it was one of his coworkers. She was saying very sexual things to him. About 10 days later, I had found out that I had endometrial cancer, and I had gotten real sick. Whenever I was diagnosed with all of that, I just got very upset.
Things escalate. Mr. Hendricks accuses her of sneaky behavior, late nights, missing hours, and outright lying. A family member even calls her out, saying she admitted to cheating. Mrs. Hendricks denies everything except one drunk kiss. Just when it seems like the worst part, another twist drops.
We had everybody over at our house drinking. We had started working out our issues. I came into the room.
Ms. Hendricks and a family member.
And a family member.
Okay.
I was like, so what is it that you're supposed to tell me? And she says nothing. And she looks at this family member, says, I put it on such and such's grave that nothing happened. And the family member looked at her and said, you're a bull-faced liar. You came to my house that very next night and said you did it.
4 months later, Mrs. Hendricks gets an unexpected pregnancy reveal. Mr. Hendricks immediately suspects something fishy. They had been struggling to conceive before, so he questions how she got pregnant so easily now. She credits weight loss, but he isn't convinced. His doubts are about to get even deeper.
I found out I was pregnant 4 months later.
We went through extensive fertility medicine to have our 4-year-old daughter. Tried for 5 years. Unprotected sex. So 4 years after we have our first daughter, she winds up pregnant.
I don't find that fair whenever he's bringing up the treatments I went through, because I was 170 pounds more, and the doctor even told you if I'd lose weight, it'd be a lot easier for me to get pregnant.
But you didn't for 4 years.
Mr. Hendricks becomes a full-time detective. He insists the baby has no resemblance to him and even pays for a 4D ultrasound just to check. Mrs. Hendricks is exasperated, insisting the baby looks just like him. The judge watches, probably wondering why they're debating a fetus's face. Then, the case takes a medical turn.
I even went to the extent we went and paid for a 4D ultrasound just to see if there were any kind of characteristics that looked like me.
And he looks just like you.
All I see is a blob.
Even in a 4D.
Well, you can see the nose and eyes, but it was too early. I was very concerned. I wanted to know right then.
I mean, we fought over these pictures so much because he's like, I don't think he looks like me. I said, how do you figure?
Just when you think science won't get involved, bam! The baby has a blood disorder, and Mr. Hendricks sees it as more proof. Since their older daughter never had it, he's convinced something's off. Mrs. Hendricks argues it's a random medical issue, but he's stuck on this. Time for an expert opinion.
It went to the extent when we were in the hospital, when he was born, he was not breathing for a minute and a half. Finds out he's got a blood disorder. Is crazy because it's fighting with her blood. But the more I got to thinking about it, none of my other kids have ever had this problem. Our 4-year-old daughter does not have this problem.
And so you're wondering if potentially basically this has something, the fact that the baby may have another biological father.
Correct.
Dr. Jamila Gator enters with the facts. She explains that a mother's blood can sometimes clash with the baby's, and it doesn't mean the dad isn't the father. The judge says, see, science says relax. But does Mr. Hendricks listen? No. He's even more emotional now.
Like DNA, blood type is passed down from parent to child. And so typically in ABO incompatibility, the mother has type O, the baby has a different type. And what happens is the mother's body sees that blood as foreign, and the baby can get very sick. Typically, the blood supply between mom and baby are kept separate, but we do know in almost every pregnancy that cells do pass back forth.
This part is heartbreaking. Mr. Hendricks gets emotional, talking about how much he loves his family. He calls them his solar system, and now feels like his universe is collapsing. The judge takes a moment, letting it sink in, and then the moment of truth arrives.
This family is my planet. It's what I breathe. This one here just completes my solar system. You know what I mean?
So you want this to be your child?
130%. I want them to be mine so we could be happy again. Put all this, BS behind us and go forward, be a family.
Well, that's why we're here.
Yes, ma'am.
The judge opens the envelope. Boom.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Hendricks, you are the father. I told you.
Oh man, this case was wild from the start. Judge Lake introduces Kidd versus Rawlings, where Mr. Kidd claims he was tricked into fatherhood. Ms. Rawlings insists he always knew the truth. And trust me, this is just the beginning of the madness.
Mr. Kidd, you say Ms. Rawlings is a manipulative user who convinced you that you were the father of her son, Nathaniel, then changed her mind when someone better came along. You and your mother say Ms. Rawlings' mind games have wreaked emotional havoc on your family, and you are 100% positive you are her son's father.
Mr. Kidd came in ready to fight. He says Ms. Rawlings sent letters saying he was going to be a dad, and he never doubted it. But oh boy, just wait until you hear her side of the story.
When this first started off, she came to me and told me that he was mine. She was sending me letters when I was gone.
And so you were away when she found out she was pregnant?
I went away a month after she found out she was pregnant.
Did you tell him it was his child, Ms. Rawlings?
No, Your Honor.
This part was straight up messy. Ms. Rawlings says she met Mr. Kidd while also dating another guy. Things got complicated fast, and let's just say this drama is far from over.
We met through a mutual friend. I didn't know anything about Mr. Kidd starting off. My mutual friend ended up leaving, and the situation that I was in, I didn't have anywhere to go. That's how me and Mr. Kidd ended up having relations, because I was staying with him. Everything progressed and everything started off. Somehow another female came into the picture. I went off and did my own thing and was dealing with him and another gentleman also.
This had the whole courtroom confused. Ms. Rawlings says Mr. Kidd told her he had a rare condition that made having kids impossible. But just wait, it gets even weirder.
When I found out I was pregnant, Mr. Kidd told me himself that he has some type of rare form blood disease and that me and his child would die if I was pregnant by him.
He had a rare blood disease.
No.
And if he got you pregnant, the baby would not be able to be carried full term?
Jaw drop moment. Ms. Jenkins saw a baby picture and thought it was a prank. The baby looked just like Mr. Kidd. From that moment, she was sure she had a grandson. No DNA test needed, according to her.
I got a phone call from my daughter, and she said, Mom, you need to look at this picture. Who got my son's baby pictures? She said, that's not your son. I said, yes, that is. I gave birth to him. I know who he is. She said, that's his son. And I was like, what? Hold on. No. Why am I just now hearing about this? So I contacted his friend who gave me Miss Rawlings' number. We talked for a couple weeks, and I asked if I could see the baby, and she said yes.
The audience lost it here. Judge Lake shows baby pictures of Mr. Kidd and Nathaniel. Ms. Jenkins swears the baby has the family lips, the ultimate proof, apparently. But Ms. Rawlings isn't backing down.
And when you look at these pictures, what do you see?
My son.
Your son on the left, and that's Nathaniel on the right. And you really believe, as you look at those pictures, that's your grandson. And as we take a look at the second picture, it's Mr. Kidd as a teen and Nathaniel.
Oh, he has my lips.
You think they look exactly alike, minus your lips, those are your lips.
He's got my lips.
This part was kind of sweet. Ms. Rawlings let Ms. Jenkins visit the baby, even though she didn't believe Mr. Kidd was the dad. But with all this drama, you know things were about to go left.
Me being me as a mother, and I wasn't able to grow up with my father. Mr. Kidd can't see the moments that he's missing. At least his mom will be able to have them, and his family has some story to tell.
As you stand here at the defendant podium, you say you know Mr. Kidd is not your child's biological father?
Yes, ma'am.
Drama turns into what is even happening. Ms. Jenkins had custody of the baby for over a month. She even had a handwritten note. Ms. Rawlings says she just needed help, but things only got crazier.
I had him for a period of time. You took him back. We went through that phase, and now we're back at the point where you're sending me pictures every day again. She was going through a situation and got kicked out of where she lived because her choice of men are not just the greatest, I guess, in the world. He wasn't safe. She wasn't safe. She was trying to get her life together. She gave me the baby a period of time with a
How long?
I had him for a month and a couple days.
Science steps in. Dr. Gator says Mr. Kidd's condition could have made him infertile, but not for sure. Suddenly, everyone in the courtroom is questioning everything.
So I think there's two separate issues here. There was an issue about RH blood incompatibility.
Yes.
That has to do with a mother and a baby, and if there's different blood types between the father of the baby, positive and negative. And so there are various childhood infections from mumps to repeated urinary tract infections to STIs like gonorrhea and chlamydia. Those can makes it difficult for you to emit sperm.
The tension was unreal. Judge Lake asks if this new info changes Ms. Rawlings' mind, but nope. She still says Mr. Kidd isn't the father, but it's time for the moment of truth.
So, Ms. Rawlings, after you've heard the testimony of the doctor, does that change your mind in terms of your belief? Because when you came in, you don't really think he's the biological father.
No, ma'am.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Kidd, you are the father.
Oh boy, this is a mess before it even starts. Mr. Calhoun says Ms. Prout tricked him into thinking he was her baby's dad. He insists it's impossible since she was with other guys. Ms. Prout says he's only denying it because of child support, and things are about to get spicy.
You say the defendant tried to trick you into believing you are her daughter Amaya's biological father. But after uncovering evidence that she slept with other men, you are positive the DNA will prove you are not. You claim that you are positive that Mr. Calhoun is Amaya's father, and the only reason he is denying her is because you put him on child support.
This is the ultimate I'm not ready for a relationship moment. He says they were just friends, but when she caught feelings, he ghosted her, except for those late night calls. Judge Lake isn't buying it, and neither is anyone else. Instead of digging out, he just keeps digging deeper.
Me and Miss Prout have been friends for a while, but when I seen that she wanted to make a relationship out of things, I cut her off. I just kind of pushed away from her. I stopped calling, stopped answering her calls and texts, pretty much ignored her existence.
Because she wanted to get serious.
Because she wanted to get serious, yes, ma'am.
Finding out you're pregnant is stressful, but this was pure chaos. Ms. Prout told Mr. Calhoun, and they both freaked out. He wanted a DNA test, but now he says he blocked her because she was crazy. Oh, so she was fine for the fun part, but now she's crazy? The math isn't mathing.
Me and a family member of his, we went to the store. I bought a pregnancy test, went back to his house, took the test. It was positive. The lines were fainted. The next day, I told him and showed him the test, but we were both in disbelief.
That's not true, Your Honor.
That I was pregnant. He said he didn't believe me, but he wanted a DNA test. Somewhere in there, you believed that I was pregnant because you wanted a DNA test.
Just when you think it can't get worse, Mr. Calhoun claims Ms. Prout took fertility meds to trap him. The audience nearly falls out of their seats as she loudly denies it. If looks could eliminate, we'd need an ambulance. And trust me, this isn't even his wildest claim.
After I found out that she said she was pregnant, I blocked her on all social media and everything because I thought she was crazy. She called me and said that she had took fertility medicine to get pregnant by me, and she got exactly what she wanted out of me.
That's a bunch of bull.
Oh, did you say that, Ms. Prout?
No, Your Honor, I did not believe I was pregnant. I went to about 4 or 5 different emergency rooms.
Ms. Prout pulls out a whole calendar, marking the exact dates they hooked up twice. The dates line up, proving he's the dad, but Mr. Calhoun isn't convinced. He insists she was with other guys, and instead of solving anything, the calendar just makes it worse.
The red indicates the date you were intimate with Mr. Calhoun twice.
Unprotected.
And the yellow indicates the window of conception. So as you can see, the day you said you had sex with Mr. Calhoun falls directly in the window of conception.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's why you believe he is the father of your child.
Yes, Your Honor.
The audience gasps. Mr. Calhoun says she admitted being with another guy right before they hooked up. Ms. Prout smirks and says it was actually weeks before. Judge Lake is side-eyeing both of them, and things are about to get even more uncomfortable.
You don't believe you were intimate on
there's
July
no issue with the dates, but I'm saying I have reason to believe that she was intimate with other dudes besides me during those days.
Really?
I have reason to believe that after a conversation that me and Miss Prout had on the phone, she told me she was having sex with a dude all the way up until the day of the July 24th.
Oh!
Mr. Calhoun had no contact during the pregnancy, but showed up for the birth. She asked him to sign the birth certificate, and though he wanted a DNA test, he signed anyway. Later, he found out the hospital actually did DNA tests. Regret on his face? Priceless.
How did you get on the birth certificate?
I got on the birth certificate because upon getting a call from Kia, remember, I never had any contact with Kia for the whole 9 months she was pregnant.
So you didn't have any contact?
No contact. I get a call from Kia on the day her water is broken. She's saying,
No, you did not get a call.
You have a daughter being born. Do you want to come up here and see your daughter being born? Me, I came to the hospital just to see if she was pregnant.
Facebook always stirs the pot. Someone sent Mr. Calhoun a screenshot of another guy commenting on baby pictures. When he called Ms. Prout, she told him, "You're the stupid one that signed the papers." The audience lost it, and honestly, same.
It's the situation with Facebook. This is barely 3 weeks after she's born. It's brought to my attention, hey, there's some guy next to your baby's picture, and there's comments up under it. Everybody is saying like, hey, this is his baby. Why are you telling these people that this is the father when we just talked on the phone? I'm Amaya's father, that this dude is nothing to her. She tells me, she says, you're the stupid one that signed the papers. I told you that wasn't your daughter.
Really?
Ms. Prout's own godsister takes the stand and says she was already pregnant before reconnecting with Mr. Calhoun. She noticed the mood swings and attitude changes early. Ms. Prout just smirks like, oh well, girl, what?
My godsister was having unprotected sex with another man. Also, before he came into the picture, my godsister was already pregnant because of her demeanor. So when he did come into the picture, they had unprotected sex, of course. A week later, she took a pregnancy test. That's not enough time to consider him a possibility.
Judge Lake opens the envelope.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Calhoun, you are the father.
Oh boy, this case is a disaster waiting to happen. Ms. Jackson drags her ex, Mr. Brown, to court, claiming he's the father of her 26-year-old daughter, Tanika. His wife, Ms. Brown, isn't having it and yells, "That's a lie, Your Honor!" Oh, and there's a child support bill bigger than college tuition, $20,624.08. Buckle up.
Ms. Jackson, you've dragged your ex-boyfriend to court to prove he fathered your 26-year-old daughter, Tanika. You claim he's denied her since birth because you were caught in a love triangle with him and his wife.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Yes,
1 week ago, you reopened your child support case in which you state Mr. Brown owes you $20,624.08.
Yes, Your Honor.
Flashback to 26 years ago at the club, where the chaos began. Ms. Jackson met Mr. Brown while dancing, but surprise, his wife was there too. When asked, he said, "Oh, she's just a friend." Later that night, he sneaked back, and let's just say, things got messy real fast.
I met him at the club, and we started talking, we started dancing. He told me he'll be back. When he left with his wife, Miss Brown, I asked him who she was. He told me if she was just a friend. So he came back to the club. We danced, we partied, and then we went to the apartment.
Not mine. No, that's a lie. That's
it was
a lie.
apartment, Your Honor.
It wasn't my
Whose apartment?
It was their apartment.
Ms. Brown went looking for her missing husband, but he was nowhere to be found. His car was outside, so she knew he was there. Turns out he was hiding in the club bathroom with another woman. She banged on the door, and when it opened, bam, caught red-handed. And trust me, it gets worse.
The first time I caught them together was at the club. Like I couldn't find him anywhere. So I walked around the parking lot looking, he wasn't out there. He wasn't in the club. I said, well, there was one place he could be because his car was still outside. So I knocked on the door, the bathroom. I said, open this door. He cracked it a little bit. So when I pushed it on open, she in there, done him in the bathroom. But I told her, I said, you can go.
Months later, Ms. Brown came home to find her closet door moving. Either she had a ghost or a really bad cheater. She opened it and boom, Ms. Jackson was inside, completely naked. That's right, her husband hid his mistress in the closet. At this point, he should have just packed up and moved to another state.
After that, this was some months later, when I got to my apartment, I unlocked the door with the key. So at that point, I heard my closet door slide open. I heard somebody grab the bed and went in the closet. I said, oh no. When I got inside, I went right to the closet, opened the door. She standing up there naked, had my man in my house.
Mr. Brown didn't even try to deny it. He straight up admitted he was with both women. Did he use protection? Nope. But then he claimed, I don't think I'm the father, because he thought Ms. Jackson had other partners. Oh, so you can cheat, but she can't? Got it.
Were you sleeping with both of them without protection?
Yes, Your Honor.
So why do you deny that Tanika is your daughter?
Well, Your Honor, I've seen too many things happen Like one morning, I thought she was at work. Come find out, she was out with another man. We was kind of like staying together.
Ms. Brown says Mr. Brown couldn't be the father since he was out of town for 3 months. She also claims Ms. Jackson refused a DNA test for years. But Ms. Jackson insists she was only with Mr. Brown. And just when you think it's over, boom, another plot twist.
She was supposed to have been born 3 months later than what she was born if he would have been there. He had been gone for 3 months, but instead she was born 3 months earlier. And every time, Your Honor, we asked her for a paternity test, she get mad.
Why do you think she's avoiding the test?
Because she knows it's not his daughter.
Was he acting like Tanika was his child?
Yes, Your
Was he
Honor.
excited about
Yes,
child?
Your Honor. He named her Tanika Lachey Brown.
Ms. Jackson whips out a birth certificate showing Mr. Brown as the father, but Ms. Brown isn't buying it. Turns out another man's name was there first because Ms. Jackson was married at the time. Mr. Brown still swears he never signed it, but Ms. Jackson has receipts.
This is a copy of your
My birth certificate.
That's a birth certificate that's a fake, Your Honor. That is a fraud. Her mama been lying to her, and she's sitting here and believing her.
No.
So wait, on this birth
He
certificate,
named-
it does say Dwight Stanley Brown.
He named
didn't
me
sign
and he
that.
spelled the name.
He was with me during the time
Spelled
that
my
birth
name and named me.
This
Now,
the
I
second
do
birth
not
certificate.
see a signature on this birth
Because
certificate,
he did not
though.
sign
Because
it.
I didn't sign.
Ms. Brown reveals they begged Ms. Jackson for a DNA test from 1990 to 2002, but she avoided it every time. The judge asks why, and Ms. Jackson pulls out a signed paternity document from 1990. Cue the gasps.
Okay, the first time, it was 1990. I paid money to have a test done for her. She didn't show up. Again, the summer of 90. She said, don't keep calling me. That's an insult about DNA testing. Okay, then we went to Ms. Jackson again. Went up to the lab again to get a DNA testing. I paid my money. My husband didn't pay child support. I did. I took care of her.
That's true.
Ms. Jackson hands over proof that Mr. Brown admitted paternity years ago. Ms. Brown instantly calls it fake. The judge compares signatures, and things look suspicious. Mr. Brown denies signing it, but at this point, no one knows what's real.
This is a document signed by Dwight Stanley Brown.
Not my husband's signature.
Signed the 24th day of September 1990.
That is not my husband's signature there.
Right.
There go right there, Dwight, on screen.
Hand this to Mr. and Ms. Brown and let them look
I can
at
see
that
that from
signature.
here.
Is that your signature, sir?
No, Your Honor. It's
Yes,
not.
Your Honor.
After 26 years of drama, the results are in. The judge opens the envelope, boom.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Brown, you are her father.
Buckle up. This is wilder than a soap opera. Mr. Patterson storms into court, ready to prove he's DeMarcus Jr.'s dad. But Ms. Knight says, hold up, there's another guy. The courtroom is buzzing, and this mess is just getting started.
Mr. Patterson, you opened your case today to prove that you are 4-year-old DeMarcus Patterson Jr.'s biological father. You named him and have cared for your junior since birth and are furious the defendant now claims another man is his father.
Cue dramatic music. Patterson remembers baby DeMarcus Jr. looking at him and just knowing. He was so sure he was the dad. He tossed doubts out like trash. Little did he know, a storm was coming.
I've been there since birth, since he came out the womb, since he entered this world. When the doctor first held him up and finally gave him to him, I witnessed him just completely quit crying and looked me dead in my eyes. And that's when, at that moment, I knew I became someone's father. So at that moment, like all the doubts that we had before, I just knew like they were just out the window and just, it was gonna leave us a happy family, but
it didn't happen that way.
Not exactly.
Plot twist. Ms. Knight admits she always told Patterson he might not be the dad. She had also been with Ladarius Sigler. Patterson kinda remembers, but he chose love over logic. Spoiler, this gets even wilder.
I let DeMarcus know when I got pregnant that there was a possibility that I could be pregnant by someone else.
So you were honest from the start?
From the beginning.
When she first told me she was pregnant, that's when we was like the house hopping thing, because when she moved out of her parents' house, she ain't had nowhere to go, so let her live there too.
I mean, that's how we started our relationship. We were together every day since then.
Awkward alert. Ms. Knight confesses she and Sigler ran out of protection, but went for it anyway. When she got pregnant, she told Patterson he might not be the dad, but Patterson, in full love mode, stuck around. Bad idea? Just wait.
We ended up having protected sex that night, and then we ran out of condoms, and while we were doing it, I told him to go ahead and get me pregnant. That's what I told him. And as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I called DeMarcus and let DeMarcus know, I'm pregnant right now, and it's a possibility that it's Ladarius' baby or your baby. DeMarcus told me to come home.
So you got back together with Mr. Patterson.
Because I love me and Ladarius.
The Lion King. Patterson was ready to hold up baby DeMarcus Jr. like Simba. He rushed Ms. Knight to the hospital. Full dad mode activated. Even after the doctor stole his big moment, he gave the baby his name. But doubts were lurking.
DeMarcus was there. He was there when my water broke. We woke him up, said, baby, my water broke. Time to go to the hospital. he hopped, all right, let's do this. So we was in the hospital that whole day, had the baby. He didn't get to cut the umbilical cord because the doctor took it upon himself to cut it. When he had the baby, DeMarcus looked over, said, that's my baby. We ain't naming him no Christian. We naming him DeMarcus Pat.
3 months in, Ms. Knight squinted at the baby. He looks like Ladarius. They debated, compared baby pics, and wondered about a DNA test. Patterson ignored it, still playing dad. Another plot twist ahead.
Well, it was a conversation between me and DeMarcus we had often. I mean, DJ turned about 3 months, and I looked at him one time, and I was like, wow, he kind of looked like Ladarius.
Oh, so you all were open about this?
Yes, always open. We would take rides to the gas station. He'd show me pictures of Ladarius, like, you sure this like that?
I started seeing his ears slant out, and I was like, hold up. Just like, I don't know, though.
Now, things get real messy. Ms. Knight brings in Sigler's mom, who is also her godmother. That means Sigler is basically her godbrother. Courtroom, shook. Buckle up, it's not over yet.
My godmama.
That's Mr. Sigler's mother.
Right.
So that's the other guy's mother.
Right.
And so you said Miss Sigler is your godmother.
Right.
So the other possible father is your god brother?
Right.
Oh.
Ladarius.
Why are you making this look bad?
Lord.
Ms. Knight sees a baby picture of Sigler's family and has an uh-oh moment. DeMarcus Jr. looks exactly like them. She lets Sigler start bonding with the baby just in case. And now it's time for the ultimate showdown.
My godmama ended up sending me pictures of it, and me and DeMarcus actually was in the same vehicle at the same time when she sent this one picture. I looked at DeMarcus, he looked at me and was like, yo, that's DeMarcus,
And
that's
you
DJ
submitted
family.
that picture to the court. Miss Sigler as a baby.
The other one, that didn't do much for me. The other one did.
And this is DeMarcus Jr.
That's the one she sent me, and me and DeMarcus in the car and was like, that's DJ.
Dramatic entrance. Sigler walks in saying, yeah, that kid is mine. Turns out he knew about the pregnancy before Ms. Knight did. He even took her to confirm it, but then got cut out of the picture. Now, the kid calls both men daddy.
Do you believe you are DeMarcus Jr.'s biological father?
Yes, ma'am. I was the one who told her she was pregnant. And when I told her she was pregnant, she say, well, if you feel like that, take me to the clinic. So I did. So when we got back from that situation, we had conflict. She like, it could possibly be his. It could possibly be yours. So therefore now, like she say, all in water.
Men daddy. Yep, DeMarcus Jr. calls both guys daddy. Sigler swears the kid loves him, and Patterson looks defeated. The judge is exhausted. There's only one way to fix this mess. DNA test time.
And he was 3 months old when I first met DeMarcus. I did gang attachment to him as well, but I understood the situation. They come down to, is this baby? We want to know, he want to know. Before it get any farther, get out of hand, I don't want him growing up because he do know both of us. He do look at both of us like father.
Does he call you daddy too?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Lord.
Silence. Judge Lake reads the results. BAM.
It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Sigler.
Judge Lake introduces the case, saying Ms. Valdez-Lark's engagement to Mr. Slater is on pause until they figure out if he secretly made a baby with his ex, Ms. Pitts. This is the kind of drama that makes reality TV look boring. And trust me, it's just getting started.
Claim your engagement to your fiancé, Mr. Slater, is on hold until you determine today if he cheated on you and fathered his ex's 1-year-old daughter, Harmony.
Yes, Your Honor.
So there's a lot riding on today's results.
Yes, Your Honor.
Imagine just minding your business and suddenly a 12-year-old drops a baby bombshell on you. Ms. Valdez-Lark explains how she got a call in 2012 from Mr. Slater's 12-year-old daughter, which led to a very awkward conversation with Ms. Pitts, who straight up claimed Mr. Slater was her baby daddy. I mean, how do you even respond to that? Congrats? Are you sure? This was a disaster waiting to happen.
Back in September 2012, I received a phone call from their 12-year-old daughter stating that Ms. Pitts would like to speak with me. She said, I'm not calling you to be messy. I need to speak with you on a matter. She was like, I'm pregnant by Rob. So I'm like, that's a lie, Your Honor.
So, not only is there baby drama, but adoption drama too. Ms. Pitts says she was planning to give the baby up for adoption, but she needed Mr. Slater's signature and, surprise, surprise, she couldn't find him. Turns out, tracking down a disappearing baby daddy is harder than getting customer service to answer the phone.
I was supposed to get my daughter up.
Ms. Pitts, you were considering adoption.
Yes, ma'am.
Etc. So you were making this call for that reason.
Yes, ma'am.
When you finally got him on the phone,
no, ma'am. She didn't even get him on the phone. She got me. He wasn't there.
Mr. Slater really walks in here acting like this is the most ridiculous thing he's ever heard. He swears up and down there's no way Harmony is his, because according to him, he hasn't been with Ms. Pitts in years and claims she's just obsessed with him. I mean, dude, if she was that obsessed with you, wouldn't she have picked someone who actually takes care of their kids?
Do you believe you're the father?
No.
You don't?
No, Your Honor, because I haven't had sex with her.
Why would she just come up with your name like you the father?
I said, cause she obsessed with me. Everyone I talk to, she call him and tell him Dad got her pregnant.
Oh, she's obsessed with you.
Yeah.
Watching Mr. Slater try to answer questions is like watching someone try to talk their way out of a speeding ticket. It's painful. He keeps saying he hasn't been with Ms. Pitts in a long time, but when Judge Lake asks for an exact time frame, suddenly his memory just poof disappears. Man's acting like this is a math test he didn't study for.
How long has it been since you slept with Miss Pitts?
I can't remember, Your Honor.
Has it been 6 months?
He can't even say that because his oldest daughter told him to his face in my presence that he was at his mother, in her mother's house.
If you lying was a drinking game, everyone in this courtroom would be passed out by now. Judge Lake is done playing and calls out Mr. Slater for calling everyone a liar but never actually proving anything himself. At this point, even the audience is like, sir, do you know anything? Anything at all?
The first thing out your mouth is she's a lie. Now I'm starting to believe you the lie. Now you're gonna have to come up with some testimony in here that makes some sense. But every time they make a statement, they a lie.
And boom, the test results are in. And guess what?
Mr. Slater, you are her father.